Now, the demonstrators took to the streets following the killing of a 27-year-old man who was shot dead by unknown assailants. The incident has heightened fear and anger among residents who say insecurity has become a growing concern in the town. Now, speaking to the media during the protest, residents faulted police officers at Kulamawe police station for failing to address the escalating crime, alleging the slow or ineffective response to repeated security incidences. They claim that criminals continue to operate with impunity, putting the lives of residents at risk. Now, the protesters demand justice for the slain young man and called on authorities to launch their investigations into the killing.
Mimi niko na machungu sana kwa kupoteza kijana mdogo sana wa stage yangu. Rais CS Duale, tunataka mambo mchukulie na si vile mnachukulia kimchezo. Tunataka chukulie siri. Hako na haki Kenya hii kama wa Kenya wengine. Bana. Wako na haki bana kama wa Kenya wengine. Yangu mimi sina mengi, yangu nikwambia rais, tulikupigia kura 2022, tuliamka asubuhi tukakupatia. Sijui kazi yake ni nini? Murkomen, kazi yako hatujaona kabisa. Isiolo kila mahali ukisikia mali inaenda. Kuna kijana mmoja juzi alipigwa risasi na mbuzi imeenda. Ako na alama paka sasa bado hajapona. Hajafuatiliwa. Sasa ndio huyu kijana wetu wa stage moja ampigwa risasi na amefariki. Na huyo kijana ingali ni yeye peke yake ndio kwa mamake. Watu wote maaskari wote rishavo, kuanzia OCS, kuanzia constable wote chini rishavo. Si wataka maaskari wengine wageni. Mambo yetu iwe sawa. Sisi tumechoka, enough is enough.
Sisi kama vijana wa Bula Pesa tunasikia uchungu sana kupoteza mmoja wetu kwa sababu hatuna security. Tuko na kambi hapo, kambi ya juu, lakini wote ni madoanzi wamelalisha. Wamelalisha sana kila siku. Lakini wamama tei wakipika tei wanakamatwa return kila siku. Lakini sasa tukisikia jamaa amekufa hakuna justice, hawezi ongea. Jamaa ameuliwa mbele yao, hawaongei. Sisi tunataka wachukulie mambo seriously. Sisi kama Gen Z, kama youth, hakuna mtu anatuchukulia serious. Tunaumizwa, tunanyanyazwa. Mbona na kuna haki? Jamaa yetu moja Tezi, kijana mdogo wa 27 years, ana tamkidi mdogo sana. Na amendengwa ameenda hivyo. Ni mdogo sana. Lakini masansi wakisikia mandenga hawezi tokea. Na wako na zao hawezi response hata moja. Ni kungora tu, kutungora sisi wa vijana, kukimbizana na sisi. Madebe tu hapo hivyo, mama changiliwa kitokea, majamaa ndom ni kufuatwa, lakini waizi fatwa. Mbona hiyo siku yote, sasa ni siku ngapi? Siku 3 ama 4 imepita. Jamaa hiyo hawajafatwa. Sasa tumekuja kulilia justice. 1 hour 30 minutes jamaa kwa chini amelazwa kwa kaburi ya gun na hakuna gari imefika. Hakuna gari imefika. Sisi wenyewe ndo tulichukua haki. Mimi nataka gava ichukue hivi, mimi nadai gava ifanye hivi. Ichukulie mambo seriously. Sisi tunataka wenyewe waliwateze watokezwe.
Ni ile tunaita ya kwamba ni a very big criminal offense. Manda, si ndio? Na hii uchukua muda kufanya uchunguzi. Uwezi niambia mtu leo auawe na tuanze kuchunguza leo na apelekwa kotini kesho. Haijawahi fanyika hivyo. Ndizi yako hapa atatuambia. Lakini mpaka tutafute pieces zote za ushahidi. Sawa sawa. Labda kuna mambo yamefanyika na si lazima muyajue. Kuna mambo yamefanyika mimi najua. Na hayo mnawaachia serikali. Tuna yale mengine kama hii washahidi. Ninajua sasa kuanzia sasa tutaenda mbele pamoja.
Alright, moving on, Turkish national and registered refugee in Kenya, Ahmed Mustafa Gungo, has been released on a 1 million Kenya shillings personal bond after his arrest over terrorism-related allegations. Investigators say digital evidence was extracted from Gungo's electronic devices as part of ongoing investigations. As a condition of his release, he has been ordered to report weekly to the anti-terrorism police unit for 4 weeks. Now, his passport and refugee identification card has also been surrendered to the authorities. The case is scheduled for mention on February 3rd of 2026. Now, Gungo's arrest has drawn sharp criticism from human rights organizations, which have warned against Kenya being pressured by foreign governments to target political dissents. under the guise of counter-terrorism cooperation. Now speaking on behalf of the suspect, Gungo's lawyer James Omanga dismissed the allegations, insisting that his client has no links to terrorism. Omanga said the arrest was linked to a cooperation agreement under which Kenyan authorities were asked to question Gungo over a social media post allegedly made in 2018.
10 days ago, Mustafa Gungor was arrested by the police, but it wasn't an arrest. The Turkish government had asked the Kenyan government through a document called a cooperation agreement to detain him and ask him certain questions regarding a post that he did that is alleged to have done in 2018. As his counsel, we advised him that there is nothing he can answer there, that Mr. Gungor is not a member of a terror organization. He's not a member of any organization. He doesn't train anyone. He was a teacher. Now he's a consultant in the education sector.
This case has echoed for us past incidences where Turkish refugees in Kenya have been arbitrarily detained and forcibly returned to Turkey under the pretext of counterterrorism.
Nafikiri Kenya inafaa kuheshimu sheria za Umoja wa Mataifa kwa kuwa tukiwa na wakimbizi Kenya waweze kuhifadhiwa hapa Kenya, na kama kuna chochote basi wahukumiwe hapa Kenya badala ya kumregesha mtu mahali kama amekimbia kwa sababu ya kutaka kumalizwa kule kwao.
Now, Wiper Party leader Kalonzo Musyoka has raised concerns over renewed calls for a national referendum, accusing the government of plotting to manipulate the outcome of the 2027 elections. Now, speaking during a press briefing in Nairobi on Tuesday, Musyoka claimed that proposed referendum is a political scheme aimed at altering the constitution to favor the current administration. He alleged that the move is intended to entrench those in power through what he described as a backdoor constitutional changes. Now, the former vice president also addressed the political roadmap of the united opposition ahead of the next general election. He confirmed that the coalition plans to unveil its presidential candidate by the end of March 2026, signaling early preparations to challenge the ruling government. Musyoka said the opposition is committed to presenting a candidate who represents the aspirations of all Kenyans, emphasizing that the selection process will be guided by fairness, inclusivity, and competence.
Let me be clear about what this regime is doing. Faced with failure and faced with the revolution, they have resorted to destruction, to deception, and to delay. The Singapore allusion is an example. Ruto speaks of turning Kenya into Singapore. But what we see is #Singapore, a nation drowning in debt, overtaxed citizens, collapsed industries, and fleeing investors. Let us be clear, Singapore was built on discipline, on merit, and strategic investment. In 3 years, Kenya under Ruto is being drowned in Rutopreneurship, where public office is a family business, where contracts go to cronies, and where corruption is policy. Let us be even clearer. You cannot hope or pretend to build Singapore on the foundation of theft, incompetence, and nepotism. Let's face it, Singapore is all we will ever get under this regime. Secondly, I want to talk about the referendum diversion. And now, they want to add a constitutional referendum to the August 2027 elections. Can you imagine, Kenyans? Already the weight of 6 ballots from an MCA to an MP to a senator to a county-women rep to a governor to a senator, did I say senator, to the president, 6 ballots, and you want to add other ballots to make it 10? Where in the world has that happened? I must tell them, we do not even have in place a referendum law. Let Parliament deal with that first. And when we under NADCO dealt with these issues, those issues, the number one item was the cost of living, which this regime said, no, that's our business, leave it. Now it is now under the urgency of now. This is so that they can manipulate the process and attempt to extend their grip on power through backdoor constitutional changes. There is no constitutional crisis in our country. Nothing can stop this election based on boundaries review. The legal avenue available, avenues available, of course, the main was in Parliament, that the state has unfortunately captured.
All right, now let's talk matters across our borders. And Somalia and the League of Arab States have accused Israel of seeking to relocate displaced Palestinians from Gaza to Somaliland following, let's take that particular story again. And the Somalia and the League of Arab States have accused Israel of seeking to relocate displaced Palestinians from Gaza to Somaliland following Israel's recent move to reorganize Somaliland as an independent and sovereign state. Now, the allegations were raised during an emergency meeting of Somaliland. Now, Somali officials and Arab League representatives warned that any attempt to resettle Palestinians outside their homeland would violate international law and undermine efforts to resolve the Israel-Palestinian conflict. Take a look.
A3+ unequivocally reject any steps aimed at advancing this objective, including any attempt by Israel to relocate the Palestinian population from Gaza to northwestern region of Somalia.
They facilitate plans for the forced displacement of the Palestinian people and the exploitation of northern Somali ports for the establishment of military bases.
The Arab group also reiterates its categorical rejection of any form of displacement of the Palestinian people from their land and any attempt to alter the demographic composition of the occupied Palestinian territory.
Somaliland's engagement with the international community is already sustained and practical. Several states maintain representative, liaison, or economic offices in Hargeisa. These relationships reflect ongoing diplomatic, economic, and development cooperation.
Israel has the same right to conduct diplomatic relations as any other sovereign state. Earlier this year, several countries, including members of this council, made the unilateral decision to recognize a non-existent Palestinian state. And yet, no emergency meeting was called to express this council's outrage. We have no announcement to make regarding U.S. recognition of Somaliland, and there has been no change in American policy.
It is ironic and cynical that Israel wishes to be the only state to recognize Somaliland, while at the same time rejecting the recognition of the state of Palestine, which the overwhelming majority of UN member states have recognized as being legal in terms of
Now, the government has announced plans to establish new security training grounds in Samburu, Baringo, Elgeyo Marakwet, and West Pokot counties as part of efforts to strengthen law enforcement capacity and restore peace in insecurity-prone regions. Interior Cabinet Secretary Kipchumba Murkomen said the proposed facilities will complement existing police training stations at Kiganjo and Embakazi, allowing both new recruits and serving officers to receive practical field-based training under the enhanced curriculum. Speaking in Trans Nzoia County during a funeral of the late Mzee Michael Kigen Komen, the father of Inspector General of Police John Tanui, CS Murkomen said the move is aimed at improving operational readiness among security officers, particularly in areas affected by banditry and armed violence. The Interior CS further revealed that the government is targeting the recovery of up to 3,000 illegal firearms from the Kerio Valley within the next year, describing the initiative as a key step towards consolidating peace and improving security in the region.
In the next 6 months, we must collect 2,000-3,000 guns. Na tutachomea huko Kerio Valley, huko rais mwenyewe atakuja huko tuchomee huko. Na tuambia watu muache dhambi, muache banditry. We want to move forward to the next phase of investment. Nikiona mashule imefunguliwa, nione watoto wanaenda shule, niliona vile watu walikula Christmas chini ya miti ya maembe in peace. I feel gratified because the investment Rais ameweka in the last 3 years is bearing fruit. And I am very confident as a leader in this ministry that in the next 6 months, we will, God helping us, we will do even greater wonders to make sure that our people are going to stay together.
All right, now let's talk matters politics. And Kabuchai Member of Parliament Majimbo Kalasinga has appealed to the courts to make a fair and people-centered decision regarding the proposed transfer of the National Government Constituencies Development Fund, that is the NGCDF, from members of Parliament to county governments. Now, the MP cautioned that moving the management of the fund to counties will negatively affect Mwananchi and disrupt numerous development projects that have been implemented through NGCDF since its establishment. He argued that the fund has played a critical role in supporting grassroots development, particularly in education, infrastructure, and social services. Kalasinga further stated that the devolution has not fully benefited citizens as expected, warning that transferring NGCDF to county control could place an additional burden to county governments. He added that many ongoing and planned projects risk stalling due to delays and bureaucratic challenges often associated with county-managed development initiatives.
You have heard the testimonies that the success stories that we have heard from CDF in my constituency, which you have heard today, tells you that the ruling of the CDF case, which is in court, which is to come in February, kindly, the judges who are sitting on the bench to really make judgment for that, for that case, kindly consider the children of Kenya. Consider the students of Kenya. As you make that ruling, you know you can make a very wise ruling, which you are writing. We know you write a very good ruling, which will come in February. A ruling about CDF. Please, our people, the judges, make a ruling based on the Kenyans. Remember, this money does not go in the pockets of members of parliament. We don't benefit anything. Like, what do you benefit when you are giving out the bursary in the tune of 66 million? That is money to the schools. Bursaries go to schools for the benefit of students. So please, let us not politicize CDF, energy CDF. We are bleeding as a National Assembly. We are bleeding to the churches who are going to make a ruling. That you know the ruling you make has a direct impact on the lifestyle of kids who will drop out of schools. And I'm happy even some churches are products of this support. You know, I'm not talking, the churches who are still very young, magistrates are still very young. Most of the magistrates have benefited from bursaries. They know the importance of it. So please, as you retire to make the ruling on what we have argued out as a house, please save this fund. This fund is alive, the only available fund that you can see fruits. If you move around this country, I'm not bragging. Members of parliament don't brag. Anybody, we are not bragging as institutions. And a member of parliament is nowhere on that fund. That fund is called National Government Development Fund. A member of parliament is nobody. It's not a committee member. In fact, we oversight it. So we are oversighting that money. We are doing that job. We are doing our good job to oversight. And we are oversighting it properly. That's why you can see proper results.
Now, the head bishop of the Full Gospel Churches of Kenya, Dr. Peter Nakola, has urged Kenyans to mark the end-of-year calendar with restraint and responsibility as schools prepare to reopen in January 2026. Now, speaking during a media briefing in Narok Town, Dr. Nakola cautioned families against excessive spending during the festive season, noting that parents and guardians should prioritize school fees and other educational-related needs for the upcoming academic year. Now, the cleric also called on motorists to exercise extra caution on the roads, especially as heavy rains continue to increase the risk of road accidents across the country. Now, he emphasized that the importance of observing traffic rules and safeguarding lives during the busy holiday travel period. In addition, Dr. Nakola appealed for religious tolerance and mutual respect among Kenyans, urging peace-loving citizens to coexist harmoniously regardless of faith and belief.
Kwa hivyo tunaposherekea katika msimu huu, kumbukeni watoto wanarejea shule. Nina ombi ya kwamba watoto wanahitaji kuandaliwa. Tusimalize kila kitu kwa mambo ya masherehe kwa sababu ya kesho na kwa sababu ya watoto wetu. Watoto ndio hazina yetu ya kesho, na na tunastahili kuandalia mambo mema. Katika usafiri ya barabarani, twende tukielewa ya kwamba hatuna maisha mara mbili. Utafika tu mahali utaenda. Janga la barabara limekuwa tisho kwa sababu ya haraka ambaye haina maana. Utafika tu, heri kuchelewa na ufike. Sisi kama dini ya Kikristo tumepewa moyo wa kupenda wote, na tusiinue roho ambayo hajawahi kuwa katika nchi yetu. Roho ya kidini ambayo inainua hisia za uchungu, lakini tupeleke habari njema kwa nia njema na kufikia watu wote, na tutabarikiwa. Kenya inajulikana kama kituo cha amani siku zote, na ni nchi ambayo ni mcha Mungu. Kwa hivyo langu ni kusema ya kwamba kama vile neno la Mungu linatuambia katika Kumbukumbu la Torati 11 mstari wa 12, ati ni nchi ambayo macho ya Mungu huangalia tangu mwanzo ya mwaka na hata mwisho, ambaye ni Mungu huachilia maji kutoka mbinguni na hata pia kwa wabariki. Tusisuie baraka za Mungu wa wakati huu na tuwe na amani.
Right, moving on, detectives from the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission, that is the EACC, have arrested a traffic police officer in Murang'a town for allegedly soliciting and receiving bribes from motorists along a major highway. Now, the suspect, Police Constable Kevin Mwangi, attached to the Murang'a traffic base, was apprehended following a targeted surveillance operation along the busy Kenol Murang'a road. The operation was launched after EACC received multiple complaints from the public regarding alleged rampant bribery by traffic officers along the route during the arrest. Investigators recovered 6,450 in denominations of 50 Kenya shillings, 100 and 200 Kenya shillings, believed to have been collected within a 2-hour period. Now, EACC reported that that another officer, PC Matthew Osike, managed to evade arrest during the operation. Mwangi was escorted to the EACC Central Regional offices for processing before being booked at Nyeri Police Station and later released on cash bail pending the conclusion of investigation. Now, this operation comes days after similar arrests in Mtwapa town, where traffic officer Mazira Haron was apprehended following a surveillance along the Mtwapa Malindi Road. Investigators recovered 13,750 Kenya shillings, all in 100 notes, believed to be proceeds of bribery. Right, moving on, Willis Otieno, deputy leader of the Safina party, has called for an end to inheritance politics, stressing that no single individual should claim authority to speak on behalf of the entire community or the nation. Now, speaking during a football tournament in Siaya, Otieno reflected on the legacy of the late Raila Odinga, describing him as the last prominent leader of Nyanza, while urging political actors to avoid using personal influence to dominate regional or national discourse. Right, that particular story wraps up our program here on EBN News at 1. My name is Martin Macharia. Many thanks, of course, keeping me company until this particular minute. Have yourself a lovely day. Of course, let's meet again at 9 p.m. EBN Prime Edition.